What's going on, guys? This is Wheeler and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a fun video. We're going to be comparing the Lamborghini Huracan Evo, Spider in this case, to not only my C8 ZR1, but also the C7 Z06 from a value proposition. Now I want to start this video off saying, I know no one buying a Lambo cares about value. If you have the money to afford this car, you're not going shopping for a car that gets you the most amount of performance for your dollar. You just want a Lambo, and that's fine. But I think it'd be interesting to compare to see how this car holds up at its price point to cars several orders of magnitude cheaper and something more similarly priced like the ZR1, and see what the American versus Italian market is looking like in terms of performance per dollar. So let's jump right into it. First, let's talk about pricing. So this is a 2022, it has 18,000 miles, Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, rear wheel drive, not the all wheel drive model. Brand new. I couldn't find the exact sticker for this car, but we're looking somewhere around the $260,000 to $270,000 range, depending on options. Of course, that can fluctuate a lot. C7 Z06 here, this car brand new in 2015 was $103,000. My C8 ZR1 was $213,000 MSRP. I did pay a market adjustment of $50,000, meaning it was $263,000 out the door, meaning it's basically the exact same price as this Huracan. But let's see what kind of power and performance you get for very similar and very different price points. So for $260,000 brand new, you got a 5.2 liter V10 making about 601 horsepower. The ZR1, of course, $260,000, a 5.5 liter twin turbo V8 making over 1,000 horsepower. Again, very similar price points, basically the same level of price, but we're talking about nearly double the horsepower, which is absurd. And then it gets even crazier. Moving to the C7 Z06, we're looking at $103,000 brand new, $80,000 right now, 650 horsepower out of a supercharged 6.2 liter V8. So this thing is making crazy power for the money, especially in today's market value. Manual transmission, dual clutch in the ZR1 and the Huracan. The bang for buck is crazy for this vehicle. This is so much car for the money. And when we talk about times, so 0 to 60, again, these are all three of these cars I'm comparing are all rear wheel drive. So 0 to 60, this car is in the low threes, 3 flat, 3.2. Again, depending on conditions, tires, it varies a lot. There's a lot of information out there, but low threes generally. This advertised for the C7 Z06 was about 2.9. It's a manual car. It's probably very similar to this. Low threes, I would imagine. The C8 ZR1, however, I personally have got the lowest 0 to 60 of 2.44 seconds in a 1,000 horsepower rear wheel drive car. So already ZR1 is taking the lead in terms of speed per dollar 0 to 60. The Z06 is holding up very nicely. In terms of quarter mile, we're looking at about 10.5 seconds. Again, depends on your source and conditions, but about 10.5 seconds for the Huracan, and then high 10s for the Z06. Again, it's manual. That hurts it a little bit. You get harder to get that launch off. But the C8 ZR1, again, lowest quarter mile time that I personally have had was 9.79 seconds. So basically almost a full second faster than the Huracan. Some others up north who have been running their ZR1s were getting low to mid 9s, with the car being on slicks at 9.3 out of stock, which is crazy. You're talking more than a second faster than the Huracan, despite it being the same exact price. But a big thing people talk about is obviously build quality, materials. You have the Italian craftsmanship and design, and that's really where this excels over these American cars, as they're quite rickety and cheap materials and creak and all this. But let's take a look at the Huracan to see what it offers. So obviously, a lot of the interior on the car is going to be up to your spec and your options. You can basically customize this car however you want, add as much carbon fiber as you want, but for a price. So this car has very limited carbon fiber options, and it was still $260,000 versus the ZR1 comes standard with a lot of the carbon fiber. The exterior vents are all carbon fiber, the spoiler, the splitter are all carbon fiber base. That's not an additional option. Versus this car, if I were to compare the same thing and have this car completely interior carbon fiber, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars extra for those options. So comparing price for price, 260 to 260, this car is definitely lacking interior wise. Let's take a look. So you do have a carbon backed seat, which is nice. The ZR1 also has that, but it is a manual seat. So you have to pull this lever up to slide the seat forward and back. You have to twist this dial to adjust the rear angle of the rear of the seat. And again, this pump to adjust the height. The ZR1 obviously has fully electric seats as well as the C7 Z06. But moving even further into the interior, you will notice a lot of this is just plastic. The biggest proponent of plastic seemingly in this car is right in the center of your gear selection. Your big reverse tab here that you pull up to put in reverse is just injection molded plastic. This isn't even metal. All these pieces here are just some piano black plastic. Same with the steering wheel. And it gets even more egregious moving over here to where these light switches are. You can look pretty heavily this flexes quite a lot and creaks quite a lot. Again, these are all plastic, no metal to be had. Again, moving over to the passenger side, this nice hex pattern here with this piano black, this is also just plastic and creaks and flexes quite a lot. You have a little cup holder here. Again, just cheap plastic. Everybody talks about the materials being so incredible in this car, and they can be if you pay for them, but then you're talking about a much different price point. It only makes the ZR1 and the Corvette look better the more you option this car, because the performance per dollar goes down. On the dash, we have a lot of leather, Alcantara. This has it as well. Even the C7 Z06 has the microfiber and Alcantara suede tops with flooring as well, and we have leather here on the dash. But overall, I'm not extremely impressed with what I'm seeing material-wise. Even looking at the steering wheel in your $260,000 car, you don't even have access to all the options. So we don't have cruise control in this one. They don't even take this part out. They just give you a blank piece. So in your almost $300,000 car after tax, you have even options that are, again, plastic and can't even use. And I posted this on Instagram, and I had a bunch of people saying, oh, well, why would you want it to be any other material? You want to save weight. It has to be plastic because it's a track car and you want to go fast. This isn't a track car. This is yes, it's a mid-engine V10. Yes, it's a Lamborghini. This is an open top, soft top convertible, rear wheel drive. The buyer of this car is not tracking this vehicle. This is not marketed as a track car. No one tracks these cars. So the argument that we're using cheaper materials to keep it light for the track doesn't really hold up here, because that's not what this car was designed for. The ZR1 is marketed as a street car, but a track-oriented street car that has the fastest Nürburgring time of an American car. Yet we have electric seats, yet we have similar or better materials. We have a better sound system. I didn't even mention that. The ZR1 has a full Bose sound system. This has a proprietary Sensonym sound system, which hasn't sounded good in the Lamborghini in a long time. You might be thinking, oh, I'm just a Lamborghini hater. If you look back at my videos on this channel, I had a Lamborghini Aventador and drove that for about 5 years, 18,000 miles on that car. I love this brand very much, but talking about it again from just a value perspective, not that the buyers are caring about value that are buying these cars, it's a very interesting argument. And moving into the 10-year-old C7 Z06, we also have Alcantara microfiber on the top of the roof and the dash, leather, carbon fiber. You know, we have plastic in here as well. I'm not saying that this car doesn't have plastic. It does. It has a lot of plastic, but that car does as well for several orders of magnitude more expensive. So the argument that the American cars have cheap materials and aren't built as well, I haven't had any creaks or cracks in any of my Corvettes from personal experience. Not saying that that one does, but again, we're talking about very different price points. But we can talk all day long. Let's hop in the car, go for a drive, and see how they compare on the road. So this car does sound phenomenal. So impressions driving this car, it definitely feels lighter. It feels more nimble than even the ZR1 for sure. Obviously comparing it to the C7 Z06, you have a much shorter front end. You feel like you can just kind of point this car a lot better. The C7 Z06 is a very long nose. This car feels very planted. You're obviously very low center of gravity. The car is very wide. It looks beautiful, it's very aggressive. The steering is very light in street. Obviously it has adaptable steering as you move into the sport or Corsa modes. Similar to the Corvettes, you know, you have your weather, your tour, your sport, your track. A lot of cars are very similar in that regard, as we can adjust suspension dampening, steering tightness and whatnot, and shifting response as well. And the Vets have those too. That's nothing special to this car. But you definitely feel a lot more nimble and zippier in this car. I'm not entirely sure the weight on this vehicle, but the C8 ZR1 weighs about 4,000 pounds. So it is not a light car, and you definitely feel that. Thankfully, it obviously has a ton of power to kind of mitigate that heavier weight, and you feel like the car can still be tossed around a lot just because we're just throwing more power at it. This feels a little bit more subdued, yet it feels still very functional because of the platform you're in. You know, you're in a V10 high revving 600 horsepower rear wheel drive car that's very light, very short nose, very nimble. The transmission feels great. This is also a dual clutch transmission, much like the C8 ZR1. The response time is honestly a little bit faster on this car. Not necessarily saying that the dual clutch transmission itself, I don't know if the actual shift itself of it shifting gears is faster than the ZR1's, but the responsiveness from the time you hit the paddle to when it shifts is quicker in this car than it is in the Corvettes. That's something I've always noticed in the Corvette. The shifting response time is relatively slow, even in the DCTs with the C8, Z06, and the ZR1. The shifting response time is still a little bit slower than what they have in this car, for sure. The biggest joy really of driving this car is the sound. This car specifically, it's not entirely fair. This car has an Acropovic exhaust. It sounds phenomenal. It's super loud, yet whenever you put it into street, it quiets it down a ton. I'm in street right now, and I feel like I can really barely even hear the car despite the engine being right behind me. But whenever you put it in sport or in Corsa, it really opens up. I don't know how much that translates on camera, but it opens up a lot. This car is a lot of fun to drive, very responsive, not particularly comfortable. I've been driving this car over the last week or so. It is not a comfortable vehicle, anything more than a couple dozen miles at a time. Not exactly the best position. It's a full carbon seat, so it's not entirely designed to be comfortable, of course, but it's an odd choice to put a full carbon, what is essentially almost a racing seat, in a car that is gonna spend no time on the track. The infotainment system is nothing super great here. We do have Apple CarPlay, which is nice. GM is supposedly trying to phase that out, so hopefully that doesn't become the case. But that is what I've heard. Speaker system isn't good. There's basically no bass whatsoever. I don't even think this car has a sub in it. Very subpar, especially for the money. And that's, again, what I keep going back to with especially the C8 ZR1. Even though the price point is the same, you have a higher horsepower car. You have a significantly faster car, both in a straight line and on the track. You have better convenience features. The ZR1 is active blind spot monitoring. It has cruise control. This car does not. No active blind spot monitoring, no cruise control. The rear camera is lesser quality than what is in the ZR1. Obviously, we're talking about an older car, it's a 2022, but it's not like it's 10 years older. Even in the C7 Z06 that we saw, that has a lot of the better convenience features than this vehicle has, and that's an $80,000 car and 10 years old. Again, from the value, the comfort perspective, I would rather hop in a $260,000 car that will kick this car's butt on the track, but also has electric seats, a Bose sound system, cruise control, and active blind spot monitoring. It has a built-in PDR tracking system, so it can record whenever you're on the track and give you the exact location where you are on a said given track if you upload the files to it. The Corvette really offers so much, even when you're talking about the same price point. Again, $260,000. If I was spending $260,000 again and my options were this car brand new or my ZR1, I would pick the ZR1 every day of the week. It wins pretty much in every single metric. It has more storage room. I can fit a full set of golf clubs in the back trunk of both the C7 Z06 and C8 ZR1. This car has practically no storage room. You have a small frunk and that's it. You can't fit a full set of golf clubs in this. There's no rear trunk, versus in the ZR1, you have a full rear trunk as well. Even despite the front trunk being eliminated, you can still fit a full set of golf clubs in the rear. The ZR1 really just hits all the marks for me, the Corvette in general, for the price point. Whether you're talking an $80,000 used Z06 or a brand new C8 ZR1, it just doesn't compare, in my opinion. The big thing that this compares of why people would want to buy this car over any of those is, one, you just have a ton of money. I get that. If you just have a lot of money, you don't care about the value proposition. You're gonna buy a Huracan and you're gonna buy the ZR1. You're gonna get both. This video and what the commentary that I'm making isn't for a billionaire to be like, I wonder which car is more worth my money. It's just an interesting exercise to see how far the American car has come in terms of value, power, build quality, features, and what all it can offer you at very similar prices to what some of the exotics are going for. So you aren't someone that has a ton of money and you want a car that performs like this, like a Lamborghini Huracan, right? That has 600 something horsepower, that sounds great, that has a great transmission, that is really fun to drive. But you can have that car for $80,000, $70,000 with more miles on it. The example that I showed only had 2,500 miles. You can get a heck of a car for the money that can keep up with this at significantly cheaper price points. The big thing, the big reason you'd be buying this car if you were, trying to save up and get the most value and you just wanted a Lamborghini is if you just want a Lamborghini. If you just want the name, if you just want the look, the emblem, the badge on the front, if you just want the attention, really. It's like, why does anybody buy, a $1 million car, a Bugatti? It's not because it does 10x what a $100,000 car does. It's because you're buying it for the prestige, the appearance, the social and societal status that it brings you. That's really why you're buying a car like this. There hasn't never been a better time to buy an American car for the value that they offer, the power that they make. That's kind of the American way, just to toss a bunch of power at something and let it compensate for how heavy the vehicle is or how floaty it is. We're just toss 700 horsepower. You see Dodge toss 700 horsepower in a Jeep, in a truck. Toss it in anything. That's the American way, it seems. We're back from the drive. Objectively beautiful vehicle. Love the design of the Huracan. Sounds fantastic. Feels great to drive. A little uncomfortable for longer drives, but definitely an amazing experience. But for $220 as market price to $260,000 brand new, it just doesn't really compare, in my opinion, to the Corvette, especially the C8 ZR1, and even so, in some cases, the C7 Z06, especially if you're looking for a manual. Obviously, there's no more manual in the Lamborghini, so if that's a deal breaker for you, that's the only option you got. But again, at the end of the day, buy what you want, buy what you can afford. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks or whatever anybody else's societal view of you is. At the end of the day, go drive the cars. Try them, test them if you can, rent them in this case, and get your hands behind the wheel and get some actual seat time in the car to definitively decide what you love, what is worth the money to you. Because at the end of the day, a car's value is subjective. It is worth whatever amount of money you are willing to personally pay for that vehicle. And if this is what you want, buy that. If this is what you want, because you want the best bang for buck purchase, or you just only want to spend $80,000 on a car, that is a heck of a car for the money. I just thought this would be an interesting video to see how all these cars stack up against each other. The American car has come a long way, and it is definitely performative, even in similar or very different price points. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, comment, even subscribe if you guys want to. Let me know more content that you guys want to see. Gonna be cranking out more content on this. This is actually my brand new car, or new to me car. But either way, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Sorry for the missed video last week. A couple things didn't work out logistically and wasn't able to get one up, but I already have next week's videos done, and this video, obviously, it should be done sometime this week too. So thank you guys so much for sticking around if you stuck around this far, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.